Hello, it's Jim Hutchins for the Jerusalem Connection Truth Report for this week. Well, the United States under President Trump has made another bold move in support of our alliance with Israel. This past Thursday, and I quote, President Donald Trump took another big step towards strengthening the U.S.-Israel alliance. Thursday morning, the President announced that the United States would officially recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. They took over the Golan Heights in 1967, the 1967 war, and they've occupied it since then. They're declaring sovereignty over it now. President Trump tweeted, and I quote, "After 52 years, it's time for the United States to fully recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights in the north, which is of critical strategic and security importance to the state of Israel and regional stability." Speaking with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Jerusalem last Thursday likewise, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged world leaders to recognize reality, and accept Israeli control of the Golan. Netanyahu said, and I quote, "Just last week we uncovered efforts by Hezbollah, based in Lebanon. Efforts by Hezbollah, which is an Iranian proxy, to build a terror network in Syria on the Golan Heights. You can imagine what would happen if Israel were not in the Golan. We would have Iran on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. It's time that the international community recognizes Israel's stay in the Golan, the fact that the Golan will always remain a part of the state of Israel. A part of the promised land by God to the descendants of Abraham." And I refer you to the promise that's given to us in Genesis, first book of the Bible, Genesis, chapter 15, verse 18. "On that day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, 'To your offspring I give this land,' your descendants, I give this land, 'from the river of Egypt,'" namely the Nile River, "'to the great river, the river Euphrates,'" that extends up into Iraq, northeastern Iraq. Now this move by the United States to recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan does not fulfill that promise, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. And one can only hope that this deal of the century, which is the Trump peace plan, will build on this action toward establishing Israeli sovereignty over the Golan. There's some rumor that there will be a two-state solution advocated by this peace plan, this deal of the century. A Palestinian state and an Israeli state. If that is the case, it's dead on arrival. That'll not happen. God's promises will prevail. God's covenant decrees regarding the land will prevail. And we praise the Lord for it. And that is the truth.